the Jerusalem Connection Red Alert Report. I'm Amy Zawi, and we welcome Joel Rosenberg as our special guest for February 2 and February 9 episodes. Join us today, February 2nd, for Part 1 to hear insights and inspiration from Joel in discussing anti-Semitism and why Christians are obligated to support and advocate for Jews and Israel.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenberg, for joining us today. Our viewers are mostly familiar with your work and all that you have done to contribute to just education and contemporary news and your entertainment with your wonderful, insightful novels. What I would like to pick your brain on today for the Red Alert for the Jerusalem Connection, this will air on February 2nd, hopefully, but today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Mr. Rosenberg, I'd love you to discuss your insight and your purview of what's going on with anti-Semitism at the local level or a global level, and how you see that fit into God's plan and what we can do as Christians to support our Jewish friends and neighbors in the nation of Israel and provide comfort to Israel.
Sure, Amy. Happy to do it. Happy to chat with you, and please call me Joel rather than Mr. Rosenberg.
Thanks.
And I'm grateful for the Jerusalem Connection. Enjoyed my friendship with Dr. Jim Hutchens, and very sad that he has passed. Though I know he's with the Lord, so I look forward to our reunion one day. But enjoyed getting to know him a number of years ago. Well, look, the problem is that anti-Semitism globally is skyrocketing. Mm-hmm. And it's skyrocketing in the United States as well. Now, the baseline in the United States was very low. Okay, so you're seeing double-digit increases in many, many states of anti-Semitic incidences, attacks against Jewish people. We're seeing videos of this, and we're seeing all kinds of. It's bad. Now, it's bad, and there's no other way to put it. Let's just keep in mind the baseline of the United States has been one of the lowest countries. I'm not sure if I've ever seen a ranking, but Jews are very welcomed, very loved, very appreciated in the United States, and have probably felt more comfortable there as a society, at least in recent decades. Mm-hmm. Maybe not in the earliest 20th century. They were new. They were coming in from Russia. They were coming in from Central and Eastern Europe. They were huddling in communities in Brooklyn and other places, and not sure that they were welcome in the society. And in many places they were not, particularly in the South, but certainly in the Northeast. Even you'd think New York, well, that's the melting pot. Well, we weren't melting in so well. Right. And my family has experience with this because my father's side, not my mom's side, but my father's side, they were Orthodox Jews who escaped out of anti-Semitic horrors in Russia. The family's from Minsk, which is now Belarus, but it was part of Russia and part of the what became the Soviet Empire. They were Orthodox Jews who had to escape anti-Semitism because it was so horrific. The pogroms that were fomented and encouraged and certainly allowed by Tsar Nicholas II, right? 60,000 Jews were murdered during this period. Jewish homes were burned down. Jews were beaten, raped, terrorized. And so many Jews fled. And my family was among them. And my father and his brother were first-generation Americans born and raised in Brooklyn as Orthodox Jews. And it was a pretty traumatic background that their parents and grandparents had. So, no, they weren't super welcome as a society early on, but that changed. One, because I think New York City had so many cultures coming in. There were so many jobs to be had in the post-World War II environment. First of all, thank God they were saved from the Holocaust. And second of all, they were able to find work. And my father and his brother were the first in their families ever to go to college and become professionals. So Jews have found a wonderful, welcoming place in the United States. But something dark is happening and something's changing. And the numbers are clear. We're seeing double-digit and near triple-digit increases in anti-Semitic attacks. So that's where we are in the United States, but we're seeing it in France. We're seeing it in, throughout Europe. And of course, Jews have been under threat in the Middle East, but you would like to think that in post-World War II, post-Holocaust, post-Cold War Europe, civilized, you'd like to think Europe, that Jews would be safe and free, but it's not even safe to wear a kippah walking down the street as an Orthodox Jew in Paris. So that's we are heading in the wrong direction. Maybe I'll sum it up there.
Yeah. So with that recognizing that, what is your advice or thoughts to Christians or to other members of society? Maybe, we're a Christian Zionist organization, and that's who most of our viewers are. However, not all of them are. We have Jewish viewers. We have Jewish viewers who are, not very religious, and we have viewers who are atheists or don't practice any religion or faith. What would your advice be to us? What can we do? Can we do anything to move that tide, or at least provide some comfort or support to the people who are the victims or the target of that anti-Semitism?
Yeah. Well, Amy, absolutely. There's a lot that we can do and should do, especially as followers of Jesus Christ. After all, those of us who are believers in Jesus as Messiah know that our Messiah is Jewish, that his disciples were Jewish, that all the apostles were Jewish, that all but one of the books of the Bible were written by Jews. And there's actually a debate whether Luke was in fact possibly Jewish, but let's say he's Gentile for now. That's good. That's fine. The point is, the Bible is a Jewish book. The New Testament is not a handbook for anti-Semitism, as many Jews who've never read it fear that it is, because they think, well, how were the pogroms and the Crusades and the Inquisition and the Holocaust and all these other traumas? Not just bad. This wasn't just anti-Semitism. These were efforts at annihilating the Jewish people. How could that have happened from people calling themselves Christians? It must be that the Bible, the New Testament, is a handbook of how to hate and kill Jewish people. Of course, it's not. And for anybody who picks it up, especially for a Jewish person, and you start in Matthew chapter 1, and you're like, this is a whole Jewish genealogy. Yeah. This is linking all this story is connected to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the 12 tribes of Jacob, and the nation of Israel. And then you start going through, and you're seeing a baby, dedicated on the 8th day and named on the 8th day, Jesus, right? And all, he's in the temple, and his parents are devout Jews, and the whole story is Jewish. So absolutely, as followers of Jesus Christ, we have to be engaged in several things. First, we have to understand how serious this is, that anti-Semitism is not a thing of the 20th century. It is a clear and present danger in the 21st century. So we have to understand that, number one. Number two, we need to understand that our obligation, morally, ethically, and divinely, is to defend, protect, and stand with the Jewish people, whether they believe in Jesus or not. This is about unconditional love. This is about loving people, whether they agree with you on every issue or any issue or not, right? And this is what Jesus modeled for us, right? When he fed the 5,000 men plus the women and children up on the northern shores of the Sea of Galilee, he didn't say, listen, if you're going to follow me forever, get in this line and you get your chow. But if you're not going to follow me, then you're on your own. You get bupkis, right? No. He fed them all. Of course, he wanted them to follow him. That's why he'd come. But he knew that not everyone would, and he loved them and served them anyway. The same thing with the 10 lepers, right? Only one of those lepers that he miraculously healed came back to bow down to worship him. But he healed them all. And the 9 that didn't come back to worship him, all of them, they were all Jews.
They still got healed, and
Right? He didn't rescind the healing, right? He loved them and healed them anyway. So when you look at the scriptures, what you see from the modeling of Jesus and the teaching of Jesus and the apostles, including the apostle Paul, all the way through, is loving the Jewish people unconditionally, even if they are opposed, even hostilely opposed to the gospel. Paul talks about we not only have a spiritual debt to the Jewish people because they gave us the scriptures, they faithfully transmitted the scriptures all through the years. It's the Jewish people who, to whom the Lord appeared and revealed his divine will to us. But we also have a material debt financially and in other ways. So this is critical to understand the biblical perspective of God's love and heart for the Jewish people and the nation of Israel. So we don't say, okay, I see anti-Semitism is bad, but that doesn't really have anything to do with me.
right.
I'm a Gentile Christian in Iowa or Chicago or New Mexico or wherever, and I don't even know that many Jews. And it doesn't even, why should I care? And the Bible is clear, we need to care. And Romans 9, 10, 11 spent a lot of time on God's heart and plan for the Jewish people. So understanding the problem, understanding our moral, spiritual, ethical, divine obligation to stand with the Jewish people. And then we can start talking about what are the specific ways that we can be helpful. I'm happy to do that, but I think those two pieces
have to come first. Yeah.
Fun. And I think, a webcast like this, I run, it's important in getting the education out. Of course, I've written many, many books that involve these themes, including a book called The Auschwitz Escape, which we may get into later. But I also run websites called the All Israel News, which is found at allisrael.com, and All Arab News, which they're cross-linked, both of which are dealing with day-to-day, moment-to-moment, what's happening in Israel and the Jewish world and the Middle East. And it's written primarily for evangelicals.
Okay.
That's our main audience. Obviously, Jewish people, Muslim people, agnostics, atheists, all kinds of people are reading it.
Right.
And we're happy about that.
Great.
But our main focus is to help the evangelical world understand with trustworthy, credible, non-biased reporting and analysis what is happening and what does it mean to me?
Right,
What am I
exactly.
supposed to do about it? So I hope those are resources for people, including one other thing. We have a podcast, a ministry I started called the Joshua Fund, which is like a spiritual venture capital firm, Amy. We've invested, by God's grace, more than $80 million over the last 15 years in strengthening the church in Israel, the Palestinian territories, and in 5 neighboring Arab countries. We're educating Christians all over the world through conferences, through podcasts, through all kinds of things about God's heart and plan and purpose for Israel and her neighbors. Again, education is a huge element here, and I'm glad that the Jerusalem Connection is part of that process, because too few Christians really understand this. Those of us who are in the Christian Zionist world, we're like, that we sometimes get myopic, and we think that all Christendom thinks the way we do. Actually, unfortunately, while we're a large group, right? The vast majority of evangelicals are pro-Israel and love the Jewish people, and that's out of a world of some 600 million evangelical Christians worldwide. But if you expand the aperture to other sectors of Christendom, mainline liberal theology in the Methodist Church, the Presbyterian Church, some of it, Lutheran Church, Roman Catholic Church, other sectors, you're finding people who have absolutely no interest or very little theological connection and commitment to Israel. And that has led to flawed theology. I mean, bad theology leads to bad actions. And this is a problem. So educating the Christian community is a critical task and cannot be underestimated.